What's up, guys? So if you own a business, you know how challenging it is to not only find warm leads that are interested in your product or service, but then also transitioning them to clients, to then repeat clients who are willing to promote your product, your service to their friends, their family, other people they come into contact with. At the same time, you know how challenging it is to constantly produce all this content for all the social media platforms that are out there, right? We've got YouTube, we've got Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, so many. I mean, TikTok just showed up on the scene, right? We have so many different platforms. So how do you stay relevant on these platforms, position yourself as an industry leader, while also marketing and getting those new clients? Well, today we're gonna be talking about my top 3 favorite reasons why I absolutely love podcasting for this very reason. Let's roll the intro and we'll get right to it. Alright guys, so my name is Jonathan and I run an event staffing company called Common Sense Events. We primarily focus on staffing bartenders, servers, different types of hospitality positions, primarily food and beverage for events. We got hit super hard, but nonetheless, it's been a very fun business that we've been able to be involved in, and things are starting to pick up. Things are starting to come back to normal, which is really, really good. But about a year ago, I started seeing a lot of different podcasts pop up, and I recently really started listening to podcasts more. And as I listen to them, and you may have listened to podcasts as well, you know how enjoyable it is to hear different people's opinions. They're plenty to learn. There's also an entertainment factor there. And for me, as I was listening to these different business podcasts, I started realizing, wow, there's an incredible opportunity to start my own podcast. So of course, you go on YouTube, you start looking up all sorts of different things, and there's all this advice about how to start your own podcast. But in my opinion, there's less content out there about why it's so important that you as a business owner actually have and host your own podcast. So today we're gonna be going over my top 3 tips for why I think it is an absolute must that you host your own podcast show about your specific niche and your specific corner of the industry. So the first, number 1 reason is you position yourself as an industry leader. If you have a podcast and you're talking to others, you're talking with others about important topics in your industry, whether that's banking, whether that's marketing, whether that's, of course, anything in the digital landscape, anything, it could be about construction, it could be about pretty much any topic, right? If you are creating content around that, especially content that you're not only sharing your expertise and knowledge, but then also interviewing others, you're positioning yourself as an industry expert who's able to give advice to people. And who doesn't like doing business with an expert, right? That's why most people get hired. And so it's very important to position yourself that way. You're also then able to produce a large amount of content with a very short amount of time, right? You get the crude benefit of having not only your words that you can then transpose later to be a LinkedIn article or something else, but then you can film that podcast and you can put that on all the different platforms that you would like. So that's a absolutely huge one. You're positioning yourself as an expert. Number 2 is you get to connect with other industry leaders. Now this is so important because it increases the shareability of the content, but you're also able to discuss with these people topics in your industry. You're able to relate to them on a completely different level, and you may be able to get access to people that you wouldn't be able to get access for because they're willing to be guests on your podcast. This has been absolutely incredible, and in my own podcast, I know I've seen that a number of different times. I've been able to connect with people that I really wanted to connect with, people on social media who are doing really well, who I wouldn't have any other chance connecting with without having a podcast and hosting them on my platform. So that's the number 2 reason. Number 3 is it is such an incredible marketing opportunity, and it's free. Right? These platforms, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, all these other platforms, they're free. And so when you produce content for them, a podcast, especially a podcast interview, acts as pillar content, right? It acts as this big, long form, you could have a 30-minute or a 60-minute podcast where you're talking about important things in the industry. Then you can chop up that content and you can put it on Instagram, you can even put it on TikTok, you can put it on YouTube, Facebook, wherever else. You can transpose some of it and put it as a written article on LinkedIn. You can do so many different things with that content you've created, and it's a huge marketing opportunity, right? When people are searching for things, searching for your name or searching for the guest's name that you're having on, right? You make yourself very, very, very visible. Going back to point number 1, again, you're positioning yourself as an expert. So there are my top 3 tips. Please start a podcast. You're not going to regret it at all. I'm gonna make another YouTube video about how I approach podcasting, how you can get great guests on your podcast, and some of the hurdles that I personally had that you'll need to overcome before you get your podcast started. But one thing I can say, it's totally worth it. So do the research that you need and start your podcast today. All right, guys, see you in the next video.